Hey, this is Ed Harabon again, here for another edition of Metaverse in the News. I'm co-founder of Get Real, and along with my partner, Rob Merleys, I'd like to talk about impacting Metaverse stories that are making their way into pop culture, signaling an adoption of the technology that we've been forecasting for many years now in this segment. So, Rob, I want to talk today more about another example of a sports franchise using the metaverse to help extend its brand and reach new fans. We've talked in the past around things like the Netaverse for the Brooklyn Nets and the NBA. We've talked about NFL quarterback training in VR. We've alluded to some training techniques popularized by Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. There's certainly no shortage of metaverse examples in the sporting world. We were given two really unique ones. One hit especially close to home to the team at Get Real because it's a project that we worked on during the Breeders' Cup Classic the beginning of November. So in the first example, everyone's aware, if you're watching the Breeders' Cup, that the classic champion was a horse Flightline. Many people had predicted that this horse would be mentioned in the same lights as Secretariat as one of the great racehorses of all times. And through a project through Keeneland and Lane's End Farms, they wound up auctioning a 2.5% fractional share of Flightline, ownership share of Flightline, and putting it into a metaverse experience the Monday following the Breeders' Cup for the public to view and experience that auction in the metaverse in a really a digital twin of the sales pavilion from Keeneland. Rob, I know the team at Get Real worked really closely on this project, and it was incredibly rewarding to see some of the success and see some of the engagement that came out of it, not to mention the $4.6 million sale price on the fractional share. But wanted to get your thoughts, your reflection from not only working on the project, but how it ties into kind of what we're seeing on the sports side in terms of people extending through the metaverse.
Sure. So, yeah, a huge success, right? Because that, as you pointed out, that very small share ends up going for several $1 million. I think it implied a value of $184 million on the horse as a whole. The horse retired the day after that victory in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So big success on the horse racing auction side, but I think a big success on the metaverse side as well. So this was the first ever race horse auction experience that was done, and it was a combination of what was happening in real life one could see in the metaverse. So you could join through VR, you could join in 3D on your desktop. And so folks that were not there present in the room, in the sales pavilion, were able to join through a headset experience. And so they could see an animated horse up there that looks like Flightline. They were piping in, and Keeneland was piping in the audio of the auctioneers. And so it was as close to being there as you could be unless you were actually there. What's interesting is in this example is that in real life, they're in the sales pavilion, they were actually watching on big screens what the folks in the metaverse were seeing. So you had folks in the metaverse experiencing what people in real life were experiencing, and vice versa. And so that was a unique twist, I think, on the experience. To your question around what does it imply kind of at a higher level, we are seeing the metaverse, as you know, really infiltrate all aspects of kind of experiences that happen in real life, or people are trying to experiment, pioneer, experience, and in some cases really mature these examples of use cases inside headsets or combinations of headsets and 3D in real life. And so it won't surprise me to hear more and more examples of more sports, more entertainment options, more business meetings, more collaboration, more architectural design meetings, more artist gallery openings happen in 3D space inside a headset or on the desktop. that people are doing in real life. And so it's an exciting time, right? Because people are ripe with ideas for what they might be able to do. And this is the latest example. And this one, as you know, even got press on NBC, right? During the actual broadcast of the Breeders' Cup Classic, the announcers were talking about the Metaverse auction and headsets having been sent out to bidders and the like. So and it's an exciting moment. It was an exciting project to work on for us.
Yeah, I think I'd add one more thing when I talk before I get onto another element of the Breeders' Cup, and that was just the fact that, you know, this was something that was used both as an always-on activation, where people could go up in the weeks leading up to the Breeders' Cup and weeks leading up to the auction and learn about Flightline and experience some of the stories of both Keeneland and Lane's End Farm, kind of understand a little bit more about the history and the culture behind the Breeders' Cup and all the hype that was leading up to it. Then it also involved like a day of event, kind of actual live event experience, where the live auction experience was broadcast into the metaverse, and so people had the thrills of the live auction, the price going up, seeing that record being set, and so like it had you know, two different kind of elements that also that both worked in concert with each other to help build that brand and kind of extend horse racing and horse breeding culture into potential new audiences and future audiences. So we're looking forward to see what happens on that. Not to be outdone, however, from just the Flightline and the Metaverse experience, there was also an on-prem experience during the Breeders' Cup that I wanted to make special note of here at the end of our time, and really showing some incredible strides by the horse racing industry to kind of adopt some new technology. There was the Breeders' Cup Jockey Cam VR experience on premises there at the track, where people could place a headset on, get in some sort of a racing posture on what looked like a series of leather benches, and experience what that 2 minutes was around the track in a headset and simulate that horse race from the jockey's perspective. So a 360-degree video experience, we've all seen those. Those can be very highly effective in the headset and a very immersive experience. So putting some of the race and the thrills and the excitement and the intense competition right into people's hands too, to help drive interest in the sport. So, you know, I just thought it was a great example of the technology and probably something that going into it I hadn't thought being seen a lot of examples of it before, but certainly kudos to the folks not only at Keeneland but also and Lane's End Farm, but the Breeders' Cup as well, trying to adopt some new technology to reach racing fans.